It's Tuesday, January 19th, and we're chatting about leadership. What do you got? What are your thoughts?
First of all, hello everybody. It's great to touch base again with everybody. Again, I wish it were more personal, and I hope that you kind of visualize that you're sitting here in the office, with me, and we're eyeball to eyeball, and we're, together, and not, with this great distance between us. But, when I think about leadership, I, think about, and hopefully, the great impact that being a part of our track and cross country program might have and does have on the student athletes' lives, characteristics, values, virtues that they might learn through our program that can continue to influence them throughout their life. And I think the first time I ever really started thinking about what leadership was back at in the early 1970s. Hank Gunther and I were sitting in Gail Swing's house. It's before Gail Swing became president of North Central College, and we were sitting by a fire, and Gail Swing said something that really got my attention. I was excited about it. He said, "You know what?" He said, "I'm thinking about starting a leadership ethics and values program at North Central College at some point. I think there's a real need to learn about leadership in our country, and certainly we could be a trendsetter at North Central College." I was athletic director at the time, and I thought, what a fabulous idea to help North Central College to be distinctive. And actually, the Gail Swing eventually did begin a leadership program in 1990, and he hired a man by the name of David Smith to implement the program on campus. I think Gail Swing got a grant for it, and they had the program on campus. And again, I was athletic director still at that time, and I had David Smith come down and talk to my staff, because I thought, I want everyone to learn about leadership ethics and values and how this can have an impact on the lives of our student athletes. And Dave did a great job, and he was a great mentor on campus. He started talking about different definitions of leadership. Gardner says leadership's this, and Thoreau says leadership's this, and on about the really kind of bookish definitions of leadership.
Right.
And you'd listen to the different definitions. I thought, man, they're fantastic, and they were long and wordy. And then I thought at the end, it sounded really good, but I didn't really understood what it meant. And I realized that at that time that leadership to be effective had to become far more personal. I was fortunate about, a little bit later than that to read a book by John Maxwell on the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And in John Maxwell's book on 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, he defined leadership very, very simply. He said leadership is one word. You don't need to be charismatic. You don't need to be able to give speeches. He said we're all leaders by what we say and what we do at any given moment. So we're all leaders. And the definition of leadership is influence. So it wasn't some bookish, long definition. It was one word. And I think back at those days, and we have, as all you guys remember, we had our Monday week meetings up in the Mernerd Fieldhouse, up in the classroom. And I remember a young guy in the back of the room that never said a word the whole time. His name was LaShawn Darden. He was very, very quiet. I'd call him introverted. And yet LaShawn Darden, in my opinion, was a great example of one of the great leaders that came from our program. Why? Because he was charismatic and said all kinds of things? No. But because I found out that LaShawn Darden once a week was going into the inner city and helping young children learn how to read. That's influence at its best. It's not what we think about, it's not what we talk about, it's what we actually implement and do in the lives of others. And one other thing that goes back to leadership, to simplify it for me, that I use in my life, and that is some tips that I got from my father and my mother. My father told me this one time, and I think about it often. He said, "Alan," I'm back home in Morton, I'm Alan, not Al. He's the only Al I know, and that's my father. He said, "Alan," he said, if you're in a position to help somebody and you don't, you ought not to be in that position. And I take that very seriously. So if I'm in whatever position I am, as a teacher, as a coach, a friend, and someone is in need and I don't help them, I ought not to be in that position. My mother said this, and this catches me oftentimes too, to make the right decision, to do the right thing at the moment that the opportunity occurs. My mother told me, she said, Alan, sometimes you only get one chance to do the right thing. So there's many times or different times in my life where something occurs and I think, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, because I don't have time for it. And then my mother's words come back.
Right.
And she says, Alan, sometimes you only get one chance to do the right thing. And so those simple definitions of leadership are what really help to guide me. And these definitions of leadership, qualities of leadership, virtues of leadership, I certainly hope are a part of every student athlete that's been a part of our program at North Central College, because I think that's leadership at its very, very best. It's not what you think, it's what you do on a daily basis in the lives of serving others.
Kept it simple. Thanks, Al.